Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the 8-Bit Adventures podcast. This is episode 329. I am your host, Sean Hayes, and I'm here to bring you the latest and greatest gaming news of, well, the past week. Unexpectedly off for, I was off for 2 weeks. I had intended to do shows, and unfortunately, there were some stuff came up both of those days. Had I known it was going to come up, I would have done the show the day before or done it ahead of time. But so we are back, and thankfully back in time for the big news, which of course is the Switch 2 launch. So we're going to talk about that. And I've got a couple other news items. So it won't just be Switch 2, but that will be the focus of today's episode. So I also updated my hard drive. And had to reinstall everything during that 2-week period, 3-week period. So if the audio is a little wonky, I'm still sorting that out. This is the first stream since updating that. Yeah, I'm just trying to get back into the swing of things and make sure that all of my settings are still correct. So yeah, just having to update and on the fly do some microphone settings. So everyone, thank you for your patience, and thank you for your continued support. Why don't we get into today's news topics, mostly so that I can talk about Switch 2. So first up, this didn't happen this week. It was supposed to be when I did a show last week, but Wizards of the Coast has released the Psion. No one saw this coming. The Psion is yet again introduced in an Unearthed Arcana, trying to once again take another crack at doing a fully fledged psionics class. I think this one will probably be the one that sticks because they just decided to throw out any sort of semblance of making it different from Magic and just say, it's just a Magic user class now. This is the feedback period. So they are accepting feedback on the Psion, but the playtest document is available on D&D Beyond. To give it in a nutshell, it's kind of sorcerer-esque. So it's a full spellcaster, with like an alternate resource mechanic, in this case, psionic energy dice. But also you get a bunch of like passive like abilities, sort of like Warlock. I would have personally rather had seen they just went full Warlock with the Psion and did like short rest based magic, and like lots of passive abilities, sort of like invocation like stuff. And you get various disciplines as your subclasses. So the subclasses are their own thing. Disciplines are now like the invocation type stuff. Wildly inconsistent in terms of power levels among the disciplines. There's some that like seem good and then you realize you don't have anything to use it on. So they have like some sort of like spell focus type stuff where it's like, biofeedback is if you use a transmutation or necromancy spell, you get temporary hit points. But the big one is like destructive thoughts, where if you use a conjuration or evocation spell, you deal bonus damage. And then you find out that like, starting out, you get like 1, or 2, depending on, and like and I think there isn't even one at first level. So it's like you have to wait until second level in order to get like an evocation spell. And of course, like if you use a non-damaging spell of that type, I don't think the effect applies. So there's some work that needs to be done on that. Overall, I think it's not what I would have done, but I think if it just gets a Psion class into the game, then everybody will stop asking about it. And at least have something. Although, again, I would have preferred to see Warlock instead of Sorcerer. And the psionic energy dice are used to fuel like your other abilities. So yeah, I mean it's okay, you know. I think in terms of flavor, like ironically, Aberrant Sorcerer, the Aberrant Sorcerer, I think kind of lands a bit more in terms of the cool flavor. So that's a little weird, but yeah. And they have a weird thing where they get like telepathy out to 5 feet, but then you can spend a psionic energy die to increase that. And it increases that for like a number of minutes. Like I want to say it's like 5 minutes times the die result. Whereas like I would have just said like for an hour, or do a number of hours equal to the die to the die result. Yeah, I just, because like I don't know in what world like having telepathy for 1 minute is going to be useful for a like exploration type of scene. So I don't know. But yeah, so my take, it's okay. It's not what I would have done. I think it'll be fine. I do think the spell list could use a little tuning, just to ensure that you don't run into the issues of like, oh, we have talents to benefit evocation spells, and there are no evocation spells. So they do get, so they ignore verbal and material components for their spells, as long as they don't require they have a cost listed. So people are treating it like subtle spell, but you still have to do somatic components. So that's just something to keep in mind. And some of the discipline, I forget what it's called, but it's, there is a subclass for, like in 3rd edition, it was, like psychometabolism, where it's all about reshaping like your body and your metabolism and stuff like that. There are some abilities in that subclass that are absolutely horrifying in terms of flavor. Like mechanics wise, it's fine, but it's just like the way it's written is like a nightmare fuel. It's like one of the base features they get is essentially you can turn your arm into a crossbow, and then shoot crossbow bolts out of your arm. But the way it's written is like you form a crossbow of like bone and viscera, and then like you reshape your arm and your hand into a crossbow made of bone and viscera, and then use it to shoot bolts of bile and acid. And like the visual of that is like some sort of John Carpenter nonsense. So yeah. Again, it's a lot for me, but I'm glad that it is an option for people. Yeah, they really leaning into like a body horror for that subclass. And it's just you are wielding that body horror to your advantage. Other ones include like the I forget the name of it, but I basically called it the Warper. So it's all about teleportation. There's telepath, there's kineticist, sort of your staples. Telepath's interesting in that you can use detect thoughts without concentration, and you can probe deeper into minds without the creature noticing. So that's like, that is, I love to see stuff like that, like interesting ways of utilizing existing stuff. Because like you figure telepath, like that would be their whole shtick of like detect thoughts. And so they really leaned into that. So that's cool. To make them sort of like a really good investigator interrogator. Yeah, we'll see what the feedback bears out and what sort of product this will come out in. I have to imagine if Eberron's coming out later this year, like Eberron should be done by now. And like Psion would have been a thing to include in Eberron. I've seen some theories that it could be Dark Sun. I would be shocked. I would absolutely be shocked if it was Dark Sun. Like if Dark Sun's actually coming. I don't know. I think it's possible it could be, you know, if there's like another Magic campaign setting that's coming out. Or maybe it's just another player options book or something. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if Dark Sun, you'd have to change a lot for it to really hold up. Because I think player sensibilities have just moved away from that style of campaign and the themes of that campaign. Like, I think you'd have to lean much more into environmental disaster than sort of the cultural issues surrounding Athos and Dark Sun. So, all right. So yeah, we'll see what bears out for the Psion. But yeah, I mean, for Sorcerer fans, there you go. That's your option there. Next up, this is big news. Game Informer reports that Final Fantasy Tactics, the Ivalice Chronicles, remaster of the beloved game, is coming to all platforms. I saw a lot of stuff that was promoting like that it was coming to PlayStation, but it is coming to all platforms. So this includes Switch and Switch 2. September 30th, or at least Switch 2. I don't know if it's coming to Switch. But September 30th, remaster includes an enhanced version of the original game with full voiceover, new and improved UI, quality of life features, and a graphics update. So taking advantage of like it still has the same look, but it seems like it's just kind of updating the graphics a bit. So it takes advantage of modern hardware. But it's not like a fully 3D, realistic. It's still the same art style, the same layout, and stuff like that. But also included is a classic version featuring the War of the Lions translation and quality of life features. So like auto saves and stuff like that. So yeah, September 30th. I'm stoked. I never got to play the original. I only played Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. But I loved it. I played that game so much. So I'm stoked. And it was always like, this was always in gaming magazine articles back in the day. So I'm super glad that I finally get a chance to like play all of these games that were only on PlayStation when they first came out. So looking forward to it. So Switch 2. Yeah. So it works really well. System transfer happened flawlessly. I was a little worried about that. But transferring from a Switch to a Switch 2 works great. The only actual Switch 2 game that I got was the Mario Kart bundle. So we have been playing Mario Kart World. Very disappointed that free roam is single player only, unless you do online multiplayer. Because I was looking forward to doing local multiplayer with my kid. So, and there is like a workaround way to do that where you can do two players locally if you set up an online lobby. So like that's the way that you can do it. Why they didn't have the same infrastructure to just do it like locally offline, I don't know. So curious to see if that comes later. So the way it works is, so free roam is like the open world mode where you don't do races, but like you can explore and you can find secrets and stuff like that. And you can do like P-switch missions. So like you find a P-switch, you hit it, and then like it'll give you like a race will pop up for you to do. A lot of that stuff is turned off when you have an online lobby set up. And if you have two players that are playing locally, if you get too far apart, it resets and then puts you at a sort of central location and puts you back together. Which, like, that's fine. They could have done that offline because, like, it already exists. Like, that technology is already existing there. So the fact that you have to, like, make an online lobby in order to do that is absolutely wild to me. So I'm disappointed about that. As far as the race themselves, it's a little confusing. Like, what is a race and what is in between the races? It feels like the whole traveling between races is just they add races in between the races that you pick. So it just means that, like, if you pick 4 courses, they also add, so you're actually doing 7. So yeah, I don't know. It's a little, it is a little confusing to figure out, like, oh, does this race actually matter for points? Like, what's going on? Or if it's a modifier for the race itself. So like I have to go back and play some more just to figure out, like, if like the first half of the race changes depending on what course you're coming from. So, or if in a cup, if it's preset. So like it just makes it seem like that you're going from race to race. So yeah, I have not played, so I've only done Grand Prix. I haven't done, I forget the name of the mode, but essentially knockout mode. I haven't done battle mode yet. Again, I've been playing with my almost 5-year-old. So he just wanted to do Grand Prix. And it's also been focusing on making sure that he's having a good time. But I will say that game, it does have a bit of a loading time to start up. So I wasn't expecting that. Was not expecting a load time for that. Otherwise, I've been continuing to play Xenoblade Chronicles X. I haven't really noticed any significant difference in like load times or anything. The big one, I'm waiting to try and finish Xenoblade before I jump into like Breath of the Wild again, or Xenoblade 3, or finish Tears of the Kingdom. So we'll see how those go, because those all did. So Xenoblade 3 got a compatibility patch, which I think locks the frame rate at 30 frames per second and does like some minor graphics work. But having an NSO membership, I was able to get the Zelda upgrade packs for free. So I'll be excited to jump back into those. One thing I've heard with Xenoblade 1 and 2 is that, like, they haven't gotten patches yet, and apparently they look worse. Because, like, they look worse when you're playing on handheld, because the screen is so much bigger on the Switch 2 than it was in the Switch 1, that things look even blurrier, which is not great for Xenoblade 2. So here's hoping that, like, Monolith is able to do some compatibility patches, maybe tidy things up, sharpen things a bit. Who knows? As far as console, eShop performance is so much better. It's so much better. And I don't know if it's just one of those things where it's because it's new, or if it's going to get worse over time. I don't know. But so that's great. All in all, I'm pretty happy. I love the feel of the new Pro controller. Although the back buttons, I gotta get used to like not pressing them, because that's usually where I rest my hands. And trying to figure out ways to reprogram those buttons, or to figure out, like, for different games, what I should be using them for. Honestly, I'm most excited to possibly try and get controllers working for World of Warcraft again, now that there's like 2 extra buttons. I think that would be cool. So yeah. I haven't tried using the camera yet, or the chat feature. I gotta add all my fellow Switch 2 owners as friends before I try that out. So yeah, all in all, pretty good. The magnets feel great. So yeah, and just the UI, like, it feels a little snappier than the Switch 1. But they like changed a lot of the button tones, and it feels like, despite the fact that people said that the Switch UI feels like cold and lifeless or whatever, like, this adds like a bit of whimsicality to it, that I think is what Nintendo needs, like, to lean into their whimsical sort of toy history. So. And then as far, it was an unremarkable launch. I guess there were some issues at our GameStop with people getting rung up for the wrong bundle. But mine was all fine. I was not at the GameStop where they stapled the receipts to the box, and the staples punctured the box and went into the Switch 2 screen, because Nintendo put, the screen's face up in the box. I don't know why you would do that. But also, why would you staple receipts to the box when tape exists? Like, I don't know. So yeah. I think it was a GameStop in Staten Island that was doing that. And they use like long staples for some reason, and they just like, and it went straight through the box, through the packaging, and then punctured the screen, which it's wild. So, nothing like that. But, and I will have further reporting on how Switch 2 is going and experience with that. Maybe, some multiplayer, we'll figure it out. Definitely when Donkey Kong comes out, that'll be on my list. And Final Fantasy Tactics was a nice surprise. So that'll be probably my fall game right there. So that is going to wrap things up for this week. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for your support. If you want to see more content from 8-Bit Adventures, you can check out 8bitadventures.com. Over there, you can find comics, podcasts, and more. If you'd like to help support that content, you can become a patron over at patreon.com/8bitadventures. Big shout out and thank you to all of my patrons for their continued support. And for people watching on video, you'll notice I have changed up the social icons because Twitter is a mess and I'm never going back. But also listing the link to Patreon up there for visual reference. Opening theme is One Up by Professor Shy Guy. You can find his work over at professorshyguy.bandcamp.com. And I think he's doing the convention circuit. So if you're going to any gaming conventions over the summer, you might see him there. And that will wrap things up. So thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for listening. As always, have fun, happy gaming, and enjoy your pie cake.